Something shocking happened to me today. I don't even know how to start this video really. I had a good friend years ago. I've been in this area for about, well, over 25 years, okay? And so this person came into my life. Her name was Pastor West. I call her Pastor West. She wanted me to call her Pastor West. And she had a strong anointing for teaching. And she would run these Bible boot camp kind of things. They sound pretty tough. I remember she would run like a granny camp for kids, really, really for her grandkids, and she would let other people's kids in, and so it was like a summer camp for kids, and they would wake up 5:30 in the morning, read their Bible, and then have devotion. And I think they would go out, they would start on their homework and then they would go out and exercise and they would eat. And it was like she was very regimented. Um, all of her kids are successful, as far as I know, because she was very disciplined. So if you're watching this video and you know I'm talking about your mother, I admired her in a lot of ways and tried to stick close to her. I didn't have a mother and I was trying to raise my kids and in an area where I had no family. And so I would call this woman a lot. I would go by, just really looking for a connection, looking for comfort. And she started having Bible study like on Fridays at her house. And I wanted to come. But she said, if you want to be in, you got to be all in. Like, so you got to pull out of your church in order to be a part of what I got going on over here. And I wasn't quite ready to leave my kids going to church with my husband without me. And, I think most of the ladies in her group were single. Maybe there was one married lady. I don't know. But she was married. So I said, okay, I'm gonna just hold off. I'll come see you, say hi. It was great, having a friend in the area. So she eventually started a church, and it was pretty a tight-knit group, small. Because if you were going to be in, you had to be all in. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't ready for that, sound kind of cult-like. So I wrote my book in 2017. I came to present it to her, and she let me present it to her church. And, talked about, well, if you haven't read the book, it talks about how my family struggled with my mother's cancer diagnosis and um, how she passed away from cancer and how God showed me all these different open doors to cancer and sickness that we could have attacked but didn't know how, didn't understand it. And then, if we had done this thing, she would have been healed. I've implemented those things with other people and they have been healed of cancer and other things. And people are praying for the sick using this book. In this book, I had a chapter on witchcraft. Now, this woman told me, she rehearsed over and over again her testimony about how she used to be in the New Age and she came out and she came to Christ and the Lord led her to leave her husband, come to North Carolina, and she slept in the car until the Lord told her the next move. And she's real adamant. That was like the gospel, the gospel of Pastor West. So she would say that all the time. So of course I remembered she was in the New Age. So it was just in my memory bank because, like I said, she rehearsed it over and over and over again. Well, eventually, okay, after I was able to present this book to her in 2017 when my book was published, I found out, I believe it might have been either later that year or the next year, she was diagnosed with cancer. That would be 2018. Yeah, 2018. From what I know, she was diagnosed with cancer and had been fighting it. And so I had left coming around her church because a lady I knew joined her church, ended up leaving her boyfriend because the pastor said they weren't ready for marriage, and the lady was apprehensive about marrying him. Although they had already been sleeping together, he was madly in love with her. But she started having crazy dreams. She liked him too, but she started having really, really crazy dreams, and she backed off, not knowing those were Marine Kingdom dreams, and they didn't want her to marry him. I'm sure she regrets it to this day, but I digress. So I kind of left from hanging around that church, right? I got to give you the whole story. Also, part of this church, there was this woman. I can call her name now because she's gone. Her name was Tanya. Tanya brought her children to live there. They were a part of this summer camp. And that woman, I'm telling you, Pastor West knew how to educate these kids, okay? Because Tanya was a single mom, and she left her home. I think she moved in with Pastor West, and Pastor West basically tutored, educated her kids, and her son was going off to college to become a doctor, okay? Like that kid was smart. And her daughter, I can't remember what her daughter did, but she went to college too. So I'm telling you, that woman was an educator. But she was coming out of the new age, or she came out of the new age and she never got delivered. So many good Christians, so many strong Christians come out of witchcraft and never get delivered because they think, oh, I said the magic prayer of repentance. I'm saved now and I don't have to do anything else. Oh no. When you are in the new age, you invite in a lot of familiar spirits. Well, her familiar spirits told her, don't read the chapter of my book on witchcraft. Don't read the chapter of my book on witchcraft. That's what this familiar spirit told her. Don't read that. Okay. I said, well, would you like to listen to my class? I wrote a class on removing the barriers to healing. Oh no, the Lord told me, no, don't do that. See, she was hearing voices and she thought it was the Lord because they mimicked Jesus. But like I said, when you come out of the new age, that's what you hear. You hear these voices that sound like Jesus, but they're not. You need so much deliverance, like you'll never stop getting delivered if you've been in the new age. Don't think you're above deliverance. And those spirits will tell you you're above deliverance. Well, so like I said, this woman was fighting cancer. By the time I found out, it was stage 4 lung cancer. Now, this woman didn't smoke, but at one time, she used to smoke. So how do you get lung cancer when you don't smoke? Beats me. So I wanted to get a word in, but she had her guards blocking. Tanya was one of those guards blocking her. She had another woman. What was her name? I forgot her name. She kind of looked African. And anyway, I think that woman kind of hung around too or lived with her. I think they might have all lived in the same house. I'm not sure. But I just backed off of her because like I would try to give tips, but Tanya was at the door blocking, not letting me in. I believe, everybody deserves their privacy. I really wasn't trying to force my way in. Okay, so Tanya said, I'm sorry, I'll pass her messages. I came back around. No, I found out in 2020 that she died like a year before. in 2019. Let me tell you how she died. Of course, the cancer got worse and worse. But right before, weeks before she passed, her grandson, one of the boys in the granny camp, was shot and killed on a base and by friendly fire. Friendly fire. And nobody, of course, knows who did it. This woman had to bury her grandson on the way to the grave. Now, that is so satanic. Like, the devil knows how to twist the knife. She was in physical pain, but he made sure she was tortured emotionally on the way to the grave. That was awful. But that's what happens when you don't get delivered from witchcraft. And no, I'm not taking this video down. So if anybody related to her watches this video, no, I'm not taking it down. And I didn't mention your name, so you have no claim against this. So it's just so sad. That hurt me so bad. And it just hurt so bad because I was in this woman's life for, it seemed like over 20 years. All right, over 20 years. I met her, let me see, I met her in 2000 and, it was 2007? No, maybe 2010, something like that. Okay, 2010. So it wasn't quite 20 years. 2010 to 2020. All right, almost 20 years. So, and like I said, I saw her as a mother figure. And so it really hurt me really bad to see her go out like that, especially after watching my own mother pass away from cancer. So, of course, I don't want anybody's mother to pass away from cancer. So I was fighting that thing, but she had her guards blocking her. Tanya was one of those guards, and the other lady was one of those guards. So that was 2020. I found out she passed. Today, 4 years later, I ran into her husband, her widower, and he said 2 years after he lost his wife, Tanya passed away. Now, Tanya was a young woman, okay? Young. She might have been 50 when she passed. I don't know, 2 years later. I don't even know. But she was a young woman. And then the other lady that lived with her, she passed, and her funeral was coming up in a couple of days. I'm like, wow. Whatever was on this woman, this pastor, just swept through her inner circle. I hope nobody else goes out like that. But those were her ride or dies, okay? They roll hard in her friend group. You know what I was going to say. But it really was quite cultish. You know, like what goes on here stays here kind of thing. And she could have helped so many more people. I really wish she had gotten delivered of that witchcraft. She would have helped so many more people. So anyway, I talk about that in one of my classes, how when a person's battling cancer, they choose who's on their team. The demons have people blocking for them to keep them in position so they can die. Okay? Like if you're not on that team, they're not going to listen to you. They're going to shun you. And there's really nothing you can do except for pray. But you got to get through those guards to get to them. I mean, Tanya was blocking for that woman. She was guarding her with her life. And that thing took her out of here too. So anyway, you can read more in my book, Removing the Barriers to Healing. You can find it on my site. The link is inside of my site. And that's it for now. And I think that's it. I hope that's it. It's just really sad. It's just really sad and crazy. Oh, it's crazy how you can have soul ties with cult leaders and whatever is on them is going to transfer to you. She definitely had a cult leader spirit. There are people sent here, they have this magnetism. They're supposed to use it to draw people to Christ, but instead, they draw people to something else, to some other entity, to some other spirit, and at the very least, it's like tentacles that they reach out and grab people, and now whatever's demons are on them can go into their followers. That's how it is with anybody. When you learn from someone, you have a soul tie with them. That's how you learn. There has to be a certain level of respect and admiration when you are learning from someone in order to receive from them. So there is a soul tie. So when you find out someone you've been following has took a turn for the worst, you have to break soul ties with them. I'm glad I didn't make the cut. And I'll see you in the next video. Start your deliverance journey today with the Breaking Curses 101 School of Deliverance. You can get delivered in the privacy of your own home. We've served over 6,000 people since 2016. So check out my link in the description below to take my free course to get started.